What's going on, guys? Farzin Masugian here with you for another episode of the Chief Zone podcast. And here we are. The 53-man roster is out. It's complete. It is official. And the Chiefs definitely keeping very busy on this Tuesday on the deadline day. I should actually say Monday night kind of started with one trade and then followed it up with another trade. So the Chiefs not really messing around here. I think it just really speaks to what this team is always trying to do, and that's always trying to find ways to improve and win, doing whatever they need to do, bringing in the right guys to help this team win a championship, help this team three-peat. That's the goal ultimately. So a lot of things we'll go over today. We'll obviously go over the 53-man roster. I put the link out there. I was actually going over my prediction. I missed 3 on offense and 3 on defense, so 6 altogether. So not bad, I guess. So I guess, I don't know what the average is. I feel like this was a fairly straightforward roster cut deal. A lot of people thought there were going to be difficult decisions to be made. I think the wide receiver room was probably the hardest one. And a lot of people are very surprised because Sky Moore made the cut. We'll get into that. Obviously, Juju Smith-Schuster returned. We went over that yesterday. I'm sure we'll talk more about that today. Chiefs went out there and got a tight end, Peyton Hendershot from the Dallas Cowboys, and also got defensive end Cam Thomas from the Arizona Cardinals. He was in Arizona's 3-4 system as a outside linebacker. So making that transition to the Chiefs side, and we'll get into that. That one is very interesting. A lot of people are very excited about that one, and a lot of people in Arizona are actually not happy that the Cardinals let him go. I actually have a friend who's a good Cardinals fan, Eddie Law. He's done some podcasts with me. He was not too pleased about that. And a lot of Arizona certainly not thrilled that they let him go, especially for a 7th round pick. So we'll get into that. We'll get into those trades and the 53-man roster here on this episode of the Chiefs Zone podcast. Want to let you know this podcast is brought to you by SeatGeek. It is football season. The preseason is over. The 53-man roster is out, and you can go watch the games for real this time. Go to SeatGeek.com. New customers can use my promo code Farzine, and you will save $20 off your first purchase from SeatGeek. Go to SeatGeek.com, pick your tickets, and at checkout, new customers can enter the promo code Farzine, and you'll save $20 off your first purchase from SeatGeek. All right, let's get right into it. I want to hear from you guys. I want to know how you guys feel. By the way, a storm just started up in my area. I'm sure a lot of you guys living in Kansas City, you guys are experiencing that as well. So it was like really loud right before I started, and I said, you know what, to hell with it. We're just going to go with it. And sure enough, it got really quiet once I started the podcast. So we'll see how long that lasts for. But let's get right into it. No time to waste. Going over, let's start with the offense. The Chiefs kept 2 quarterbacks, Patrick Mahomes and Carson Wentz. No surprises there. Chris Oladokun is expected to return to the practice squad, so we'll see what happens there. This one was surprising. The running back position, the Chiefs only kept 2, Isaiah Pacheco and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Now, let me just get this out of the way. Carson Steele is listed as a fullback on the Chiefs website. Some people are calling him a running back, what have you. But Carson Steele is on the team. So when you hear 2 running backs and it's Pacheco and Edwards-Helaire, don't worry, Carson Steele is still on the team. But 2 running backs. See, here's what I did. I predicted the Chiefs would have 5 linebackers, and they do have 5 linebackers. They have the 5 that I predicted. But I thought they would cut 1 linebacker and add to the fullback position, and they would keep 3 running backs. That's how I thought they would, how they were going to move forward with this. Not necessarily the case here. They actually have 1 less running back. They have the fullback position, but they have 4 tight ends. We'll get into that a little later on. My whole thing, with the running backs you had on the team, Deneric Prince, Luis Rees-Zammit, and a few other guys, Bailey. What was the point? Because I think you already knew Pacheco and Edwards-Helaire were going to be your 1 and 2 running backs. I think you already knew that. So what was the purpose of this here? What happened? Did they know that they were going to have two running backs the whole time? Or did things change with the Juju? Because I'm kind of wondering, like, did the Juju signing, did that shake things up? I think it did. A lot of people were speculating that the Chiefs would have had 6 receivers before the Juju signing. And now with Juju coming back to the Chiefs, people felt like, okay, it's going to be 7, but they weren't really sure who the odd man out was going to be for the other wide receiver spots. And I don't think anyone anticipated 2 running backs. And again, Steele is listed as a fullback, not a running back. So that one was a surprise to me. Isaiah Pacheco. I mean, you're going to have 2 running backs on the practice squad, 100%. I don't know if Louis Rees-Zammit, like what the interest level is in him. Some people thought they maybe could have put him on injured reserve and have him come back later in the season. That way he does not get picked up by any teams. Certainly was an option, but they decided not to go that route. 2 running backs, Edwards-Helaire and Pacheco. Yeah, I know a lot of people not too big on the on Edwards-Helaire. He was one of the more productive offensive players last year, and I know that's not saying much considering what last year was, but that's what the Chiefs decided to go with here. I mentioned fullback Carson Steele had a phenomenal preseason and a great training camp, so really no shocker there. He had a lot of hype when the Chiefs got him too, so I think a lot of people were really pleased with what he did this preseason. So I'm very excited to see what the Chiefs are going to do. I'm sure they'll have him get some handoffs and also catch out of the backfield, block, and pave the way for Pacheco and Edwards-Helaire. I'm very excited to see what Carson Steele is going to do on this football team. I really do think he's going to be kind of like Kimball Landers, I think, in the 90s. I'm really curious to see how that all goes for the Chiefs. All right, wide receivers. You have 7 of them. Hollywood Brown. If Hollywood Brown is going to be on the main 53-man roster, and I said this for a while, but it's worth repeating here, his injury is not very serious. He will probably not play the season opener. I think, just have that expectation ready. Don't get your hopes up for that. As much as I would love it, I predicted he would score the first touchdown of the 2024 season for the Chiefs. But he's not expected to miss too much time. He should be available for the Bengals game. Week 3 is kind of a toss-up. Maybe he misses that, maybe not. But he should be back in time for the first quarter of the season. Rashee Rice, part of your team. I know that makes a lot of people outside of KC irate, but if you actually pay attention and do research, you know why he's still available. He's going to get suspended, people. Just relax. It's not going to be this year. It will be next year, 100% for sure, unless the case gets dropped today. Because the NFL did say that Roger Goodell specifically said he's going to wait for the legal case to pan out, just like the Alvin Kamara situation. So if the people involved in the accident didn't file any lawsuits, then I think the suspension would have been handed out by now. So there you have it. Xavier Worthy, again, very excited to see this guy. Justin Watson, kind of, going back to a depth role with the Chiefs. And I like that because I think that is where he excels the most. Mecole Hardman back on the team. Juju Smith-Schuster, he knows the offense. He spoke to the media today, Tuesday afternoon, and mentioned that he's not 100% sure if he will be ready and active for that week 1 game against Baltimore. I thought that was interesting. So there's a chance you're going to go into week 1 to see Juju Smith-Schuster. Maybe that's a smoke screen. I don't know. So your 5 wide receivers would be Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, Justin Watson, Sky Moore, and Mecole Hardman. Is kind of what Juju hinted at. Again, those are his words, not mine. Well, not necessarily his words, but he did say he wasn't sure if he would play that week 1 game. So I'm just kind of throwing that out there. Tight ends. This is obviously the interesting one because the Chiefs made a move for a tight end today. You have Travis Kelce. You have Noah Gray. Noah Gray's been on the team for a couple of years now, drafted in 2021. Jared Wiley, who you got the rookie. And then you went and got Peyton Hendershot from the Dallas Cowboys. This was a very interesting move for the Chiefs to go and get Peyton Hendershot. They traded a conditional 2026 7th round draft pick. So obviously not giving up much to get him. I think a lot of people are wondering why Peyton Hendershot when you drafted Jared Wiley, and why not Irv Smith? Irv Smith Jr. didn't really do too much for the Chiefs, but when you look at Peyton Hendershot, the first thing I take away, his height, 6'4", pretty big dude, 254 pounds. Not a guy that catches a lot of passes. They didn't even do that much in Indiana during his time there. I think his senior year, he had 46 catches for 543 yards. Okay, not bad. But in his time in the NFL, hasn't really caught a lot of passes. Had 11 catches for 103 yards and 2 touchdowns his rookie season. And then last year, he had 4 catches for just 38 yards and only had 1 first down reception last year. So not a guy that they used a whole lot in the passing game. In terms of, do I have the snaps here? Okay, I'm trying to look. Yeah, if you guys hear all that noise in the background, that is the storm. So I'm trying my best to ignore that while doing this podcast, because that's it's definitely a very smart way to do a podcast, is in the middle of a storm. Let me just, I'm trying to look up, see if I can get the number of snaps he played. His rookie year, he played, mostly in the teens. Early on, he got a lot of playing time. He was inactive for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games, his second season. So in the games that he did play before his inactivity, played at least 28 snaps. So not bad for a backup tight end. But then when he came back, did not play more than 18 snaps. Did play a lot of special teams for Dallas. So I think that's definitely something, because I think that was kind of the concern for the Chiefs, is if you're bringing back Juju Smith-Schuster, that's not a special teams player. He's not a special teams guy. So the way I look at it is, I think the Chiefs might have fewer wide receivers on special teams this year. I'm speculating on that because I don't think they want Hollywood Brown, Rashee Rice, and Xavier Worthy. And by the way, I'm talking special teams defense and special teams blocking. Special teams returning is a whole different conversation. Sky Moore, is he someone you use on special teams? Justin Watson, probably. That's all I can really think of. That's what I come down to. Here's another thing, because the Chiefs, they were above the league average when it came to 13 personnel use, meaning you use more tight ends in that situation, a three tight end set. So if you're going to have Kelce, Gray, Wiley, and Hendershot, I think what that tells me is you're going to be running the ball more this year than you did last year. But then I go back to the fact that you drafted Xavier Worthy in the first round. You drafted Rashee Rice last year. You still have Sky Moore. You're keeping him around. And obviously the biggest free agent acquisition this offseason was Hollywood Brown. So I'm kind of torn. Like, what does the addition of Peyton Hendershot really mean? Are we maybe reading into that more than we really should? Because I think if you're going to be adding another tight end, that's I think they have him for blocking purposes, maybe both for run blocking and pass blocking. When you look at Hendershot, his height, I mentioned already, 6'4", 254 pounds. You look at some of the other tight ends, Travis Kelce is 6'5", Noah Gray is 6'3", Jared Wiley 6'6". Some of the other tight ends they had on the team, Irv Smith, a little undersized for a tight end, 6'2". Baylor Cupp was 6'6". I'd be very curious to see if Cupp comes back on the practice squad. The reason I'm making a big deal about the height with the tight ends here, I'm kind of wondering if the biggest reason was they want to use these guys as blockers beside the offensive tackles. Because you got to look, you have a rookie left tackle in Kingsley Samataia. And then you look at the right tackle, you have Juwan Taylor, who, was kind of up and down when it came to his pass block win percentage in some games. Obviously, the penalties, that was kind of a weird thing where, they picked on him, but when other players were doing the exact same thing, wasn't really, they didn't throw the flag then. So, I don't know. We've gone over that before, but no need to go over it here with this discussion here. I think if you're the Chiefs, the reason you have these extra tight ends here, especially a guy like Peyton Hendershot, who's used more for blocking and for special teams, Jared Wiley, who's the tallest tight end you've got in the room. These are guys that you can use to go right beside your offensive tackles. And if you want to have a guy that's right next to the rookie, or maybe right next to Jawan Taylor, who had some up and down moments last year, just to ensure that you're protecting the franchise quarterback. Is this not a smart move? Because when you have a quarterback whose name is Patrick Mahomes, you got to do everything you can to protect him at all costs. That's a huge reason why you're keeping Creed Humphrey long term, because he's done a fantastic job at that center position. Listen, I would still argue, even when Jason Kelce was playing, Creed Humphrey was a better center in the NFL, just by a little bit. And listen, some people might say Creed Humphrey is 1 and Kelce was 2 before Kelce's retirement, or people will say Kelce was 1 and Creed was right behind him at 2, and that's fine as well. But bottom line is, Creed Humphrey is an elite center here, so there's a reason why they're keeping him long term. Keep in mind, that's the same offseason the Chiefs revamped that entire offensive line. So if the addition of guys like Hendershot and drafting Jared Wiley is to help protect Patrick Mahomes, essentially, trying to have that insurance as pass blockers there, I'm for it. I am strongly in favor of it. So I'm really curious to see what they do and how it all looks in week 1. Offensive line, as far as your starting 5, I think it's obvious. Kingsley Samatia, Joe Thuney, Creed Humphrey, Trey Smith, and Jawan Taylor. Wanya Morris is expected to be the backup left tackle, drafted last year. Mike Caliendo, the backup left guard. Hunter Norzad, the one of the interior backup offensive linemen, as well as CJ Hansen. And this one was a surprise to me. So people are surprised about Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Sky Moore, and the other player that they're excited for is Ethan Driscoll. He actually had a couple of good moments, paving the way for Deneric Prince on a couple of nice blocks there in the preseason. Kingsley Samatia, we didn't really get to see. I think we only saw it once in the preseason. But, man, in practice, whenever the Chiefs were running a screenplay or anytime they needed an offensive lineman to go down the field, of course, once the ball's been thrown, Kingsley did not shy away from going full speed and just forcing defenders out of the way for ball carriers in practice. We saw it more in practice than we did in preseason games, but I'm very curious to see, that kind of effort in a real game. I'm very excited to see what Kingsley's going to bring to the table for this football team. All right, let's go to the defense. And by the way, I see you guys in the chat. I'll get to all of your comments. If you guys have any questions, comments, whatever it is, Rita, we're going to treat this like a Red Friday live chat on the podcast. And by the way, if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the Chiefs Zone podcast. We're starting to put a lot of video content out there. So we're starting to get a lot of subscribers on there. Definitely would love to have more. So if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the podcast on YouTube. Let me just have the link in the chat. That will make it much easier for you guys to click on rather than just search it yourself. You guys can still hear and see me, I hope. Yeah, I see the comment about the storm. It is not the most ideal way to do a podcast, but that is what we're doing here. Let me get that link for you guys. There it is. So please subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't done so already. I'll get to everyone's comments later on. Let me just do the defense and give my thoughts on that, and then I'll get to you guys. Defensive ends: George Karlaftis, Mike Dana, Malik Herring, Felix Anudike-Uzomah, and Cam Thomas. Obviously, the big one right there is Cam Thomas coming in from Arizona. He was the 3rd round pick a couple of years ago. Is that the same year? No. FAU was drafted in 2023. Cam Thomas was drafted 1 year before. Cam Thomas had 3 sacks as a rookie. FAU has had a very slow progress here. It just has not really panned out too well since being drafted. So I don't really know what his role is going to be, because word is in Arizona that Cam Thomas was not very happy with his usage in Arizona in that defense right there in the 3-4 scheme. Now he's coming over to a Super Bowl team, a team that's looking to make history, looking to three-peat. And Charles Omenihu is on injured reserve to start off the year. No surprise there. But what is the expectation from a guy like Cam Thomas? Because I don't think Malik Herring is a guy that you're going to rely on and use a lot on defense. He's more of a special teams guy. FAU, look, he's been very quiet in his NFL career so far, has had moments, very, very few of them, but we haven't seen much of him yet. And again, this is a first round pick that you want to excel. Obviously, a little bit of pressure on this guy, considering he's a local guy from Kansas City, went to K-State. So he's got a strong contingency of fans here. Has had a lot of fans here for a long time, given his local affiliation with the city and all. But he's got to start playing better. And I think part of the Cam Thomas edition is, if FAU does not improve, well, then you're going to start using Cam Thomas. And I think by bringing in Cam Thomas, it is a message to FAU like, hey, we got this guy for a reason. Okay. We need you to step up, because if you don't, this guy really wants to play. He wanted to play in Arizona more, was not used the right way. And we're going to use him. I think this has to send a message. When you're going out there and getting a player at your position, that has to say something to FAU. I mean, they're not grabbing Cam Thomas because they think George Karlaftis is not going to play well this season. I mean, that's not at all what's going on. They know Charles Omenihu is going to be good when he comes back, might take Malik Herring's spot. But, if you're FAU, you got to play well. And I think the Chiefs will give him the first opportunity to rotate in and out with Karlaftis. But man, you gotta start playing better. 100% got to start playing better. Linebackers, not a big surprise here. Nick Bolton, Drue Tranquill, Leo Chenal, Jack Cochran, and Cam Jones. Cochran and Jones have been around for a little bit now. Nick Bolton, obviously one of the better linebackers in the NFL. Drue Tranquill, heavily underrated last year across the league. I don't think a lot of people recognize the things that this guy does that doesn't come up on the stat sheet. And Leo Chenal, someone who I'm very excited to see now that, Willie Gay's moved on, and this is someone who's going to start playing a lot more this year. Very good run stopper and also a very good pass rusher as well. So the things that the Chiefs are going to do this year with Leo Chenal and also with their defensive backs and the nickel and dime packages, which the Chiefs run more than any other defense in the NFL. This is a player in Chenal that I'm really curious to see what he does. I know he had that fumble in not a literal fumble, but more a figurative fumble in the AFC title game where he had Lamar Jackson wrapped up. All you got to do is take him down, and instead Lamar Jackson was able to break that tackle and threw up a touchdown pass. I think it was to Zay Flowers, and he was being guarded by Nick Bolton, which definitely had some question marks there. But, you have to get that sack. You have to get it there. And I hope Leo Chenal will be better about it this season for the Chiefs. Let's go on to the defensive backs. Let's go to the safeties first. Justin Reid, Brian Cook, Shamari Connor. I see some people listing him as a safety. The Chiefs only have 4 safeties. Well, let me take out Connor for a second, because if you take out Connor, you only have 3: Justin Reid, Brian Cook, Jaden Hicks. Deon Bush is not listed on the 53-man roster. So that probably means Shamari Connor is going to focus more back to the safety position, because he did a little bit of quarterback in camp and preseason games. So I don't know what's going to happen there. But I do like the safety room. Excuse me. Jaden Hicks had a really good preseason. I thought he was your best defensive player, hard hitter. And Spags is going to use him for a lot of DB blitzes. Him, Josh Williams, Nazeeh Johnson, Shamari Connor. If I recall correctly, I was actually going back and rewatching receiver, and they were showing the Super Bowl because 2 of the players they were featuring were in the Super Bowl against the Chiefs, and Deebo Samuel and George Kittle. And I love it because I think it was Shamari Connor who batted down the pass on 3rd down in regulation, because that forced the 49ers to kick a field goal rather than chew up the clock. And Shamari Connor, you could hear him just kind of, getting all fired up, getting that big stop right there. So I always, when I think of Shamari Connor, I just think of that. So that's pretty cool. Had that nice play against Josh Allen too in the regular season. So I'm excited to see the second year step that Shamari Connor is going to take for the Chiefs, and Jaden Hicks joining the mix. I mean, I think all 4 of these safeties are going to get a lot of playing time this year. I really do. Brian Cook coming back. Hopefully he can stay healthy, because if he stays healthy, man, this guy's got the potential to be a solid safety in the NFL. Quarterbacks, a lot of players from the 2022 draft class. Trent McDuffie, Jalen Watson, Josh Williams, Najee Johnson. You have Nick Jones, who you had last year. Chris Roland Wallace, probably a name that a lot of people did not expect to make the 53-man roster. But he made it nonetheless, did enough in the Chiefs' eyes to make the team. So Chris Roland Wallace going to be on the team. Probably going to spend much more time on special teams than on defense, but might expect to see a little bit of him as the season goes on. So very excited to see what he's going to do there. And then, of course, specialist, no surprises there. Kicker is Harrison Butker. Punter is Matt Araiza. He's going to keep the number 49 jersey. I'll explain why that's relevant in a moment. And then the long snapper is James Winchester. They went ahead and let Randon go. So he was just a temporary guy. Might keep him around on the practice squad in case Winchester gets hurt again or re-aggravates that shoulder injury. But nonetheless, that is what the Chiefs are moving forward with, those three guys. But yeah, back to Matt Araiza and him wearing 49. So Juju came back and got back his number 9 jersey. And in yesterday's practice, Luis Rees-Zammit switched from 9 to 49. So the Chiefs had 2 49s on the field yesterday in practice. Today, Luis Rees-Zammit was not practicing. Obviously, that's the one big omission there, is that Rees-Zammit is not on the 53-man roster. So he changed his number for one day. And yeah, for one day, you change your number. And I don't know, man. Those NFL UK fans, a lot of them bought LRZ jerseys. He's a huge deal there as a rugby star and all. So we'll see what happens there. Gwen's asking, do they bring back Jerick McKinnon maybe? Yeah, I was thinking about that. I don't know. That's interesting. 2 running backs. Unless, are you just going to combine running back and fullback together and just say you have 3 guys there? Is that what the plan is? If it is, I don't hate it. I don't love it either at the same time. I'm just trying to think. I'm just trying to wrap my head around 2 running backs and a fullback. I don't know. That's a weird one. It's a really weird one. Todd's asking, how many offensive linemen? Wanya Morris, you go on IR? No. Wanya Morris is on the team. He is one of 10 offensive linemen. I think they got 2 for each position. Let's see here. Layla says excited for Carson Steele, though going to be great to watch. Yeah, I think a lot of people are excited to see what Carson Steele is going to do this year for the Chiefs. Gay says surprised they cut Justin Ross. Okay, let's discuss this one. Why did the Chiefs go and keep Sky Moore? I think there are a couple of reasons here. One, I think the development with Justin Ross, I think it's gotten to a point where you can't really give him any more chances. Yeah, he had moments in last year's preseason and this preseason, but you're not looking for moments because the hype was Justin Ross should have been a first-round pick. Obviously, the injuries had other plans, unfortunately. But specifically, why Sky Moore? Well, you're keeping Hollywood, you're keeping Rice, you're keeping Worthy, you're keeping Watson, you're keeping Hardman. You brought back Juju. I'm those are 6 guaranteed spots in your wide receiver room. So I think it came down to one guy left. And your options were Cornell Powell, who had a couple of touchdowns this preseason, Nico Remigio, who I thought had some good moments on offense and on special teams, Kadarius Toney, who has an amazing skill set out of those guys I've mentioned, but unfortunately has been a massive liability as of late. And then you have Sky Moore. Sky Moore, who did not have a single pass thrown his way this preseason, had 3 kick returns for 101 yards. I think with Sky Moore, what that tells me is, one, the Chiefs are not ready to give up on him and are not ready to call him a bust just yet. But I think more importantly, I guess they see a fit for him somewhere on the scene. Like if Sky Moore is a number 6 or number 7 receiver on your offense, that's not a bad thing. It's really not. When you have Hollywood, whenever he comes back, which, shouldn't be too long, Obviously, he's a dangerous guy who's got great speed. Same with Xavier Worthy, Rashee Rice, a really good possession receiver who can win a lot of one-on-one battles. Justin Watson is a good depth receiver. Mecole Hardman, kind of like what I was saying with Justin Ross, is his development has been very slow. He's had really good moments and he's had really bad moments. But again, kind of like Kadarius Toney, the reason the Chiefs were willing to give him a chance, bringing him in from New York, is because you want to give a guy like that a chance, especially in this offense that Andy Reid runs. Mecole Hardman has had some really good moments, though, and you're hoping he can revert back to that. He's a very young guy. Mecole Hardman's not old at all. I think he's 26 years old. Let me just double check on that, because this is someone who can still do a lot for your team. Yeah, he turned 26 this offseason. So this is not somebody that you just let walk. I don't know why it took so long to bring him back, but at the end of the day, who the hell cares? He's back on the team. For a guy like Juju, I'm actually glad the Chiefs brought Juju Smith-Schuster back, because this is a guy that knows the offense and has good speed, fits this style of offense. And on top of that, he's not your number one or number two receiver. He's going to be part of your depth. When you have Juju Smith-Schuster as part of your depth, and you have Brown when he comes back, Rice, Worthy as your main receivers, I mean, that is just another reliable weapon for Patrick Mahomes. I mean, think about this with Patrick Mahomes, okay? Let's say, he has an empty set, no running backs on the field. He has 4 receivers and a tight end. You look to your right, you got Hollywood Brown and Rashee Rice. Look to your left, got Xavier Worthy and Juju Smith-Schuster. Look down the middle, you got Travis Kelce there. You have options across the field, and Patrick Mahomes, even though he's had Travis Kelce his entire career, he had Tyreek Hill for a few years here. Even though he's had some all-pro pass catchers, he's still done a very good job of distributing the football across the board. So damn well Patrick Mahomes is going to utilize and take advantage of all of the receivers in his arsenal here. And Juju Smith-Schuster is one of those guys. I'm thrilled. The Chiefs had the worst receiving core in the NFL last year, and now they're going to have the best. Good call on Kimball Anders. Yeah, I just feel like Carson Steele is going to be a Kimball Anders type of football player. I mean, I'd love to say like Tony Richardson or Anthony Sherman, but Anthony Sherman and T-Rich, they did not run the ball much. They didn't catch much. They did at times, but not very much. Carson Steele is going to get some touches for you. I don't know how many per game, maybe 3 to 5 per game. Definitely on short yardage situations, he'll be involved, whether he gets the ball or is going to help pave the way for Pacheco or Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Maybe they bring back the tight end sneak, or maybe even a QB sneak. Who knows? But I'm really excited to see. I kind of just wonder. Like, I'm not attributing last year's offensive struggles to not having a fullback. I want to be very clear about that. But I kind of wonder, do you bring back the fullback position? Did the Chiefs miss that last year? Again, I'm not attributing the drops or any of that stuff to not having a fullback, because those are not at all related. But I just kind of wonder, maybe the Chiefs missed the fullback position last year. Maybe they looked across the board in the NFL and they felt like there was no one good enough to be their fullback on the team. And maybe that's why they didn't have one. I don't know. So I'm curious to see what'll happen here. Kurtz has a very good point here. We'll have Rice all season. Pretty sure his punishment won't come into play until next season. Attorneys will keep pushing it out. Yeah, this is a really good point. I think when Dwayne Bowe got in trouble for his DUI, or not DUI, I'm sorry. Maybe there was a DUI involved. It was speeding in possession of marijuana, actually. That's what it was. I think he had a court date that was during the season, and they kept pushing that back. So attorneys will find a way to get that out there for sure. If I'm not mistaken, I think Devontae Adams, before they agreed to a settlement, when he shoved the camera intern or whoever, he actually had a court date in Kansas City, but he was able to get that pushed back. So yeah, NFL players are able to to get that to happen. Juju was cheap. Patriots pay his guarantee. Yes, this is true, and Chiefs do pay league minimum. Excuse me, for a guy that led the team in 2022 in receptions and yards. Yeah, that's a good point. Again, he knows the offense. I know the offensive coordinator is not the same, and the wide receivers coach is not the same, but those assistant coaches, Matt Nagy and Connor Embry, they were still on the team before. Connor Embry was working very closely with the receivers, so it's not like Juju's coming back and has no idea who Connor Embry is. I know Connor Embry, he was a guy that a lot of people were pointing fingers at last year. He kind of was, he was the Dan Sorensen of the 2023 season. A lot of people kind of blamed him for some of these struggles on offense, but I don't know, maybe Kadarius Toney was the Dan Sorensen of last year, or the Bob Sutton. But you have, I think, assistant coaches, I do think, get a little bit too much shit for things that are out of their control when they have to use players that they're given. Well, Connor Embry has a much better wide receiver room this year than he did 12 months ago. So there are no excuses for this to not work out. I believe LRZU can be added to the practice as an extra player since he's part of the international program. Yeah, Jay, some people have mentioned that, and I heard that on A10 today, but they weren't really familiar with the rule. So we'll have to wait and see in the next 24 to 48 hours. I kind of expected him to come back when New England cut him. Yeah, I think that was always on the table. Now, word is that Matt Nagy was pushing for Juju to come back, and maybe Patrick Mahomes was also a driving force behind that. So yeah, the Chiefs clearly wanted him back. And look, Andy Reid knows what he's doing. Brett Veach knows what he's doing. Do they get it right all the time? No, but they know what they're doing more times than not when it comes to personnel and all that stuff. If they felt like Juju was washed up and completely done, do you think they would have brought him back? Again, we're talking about Andy Reid and Brett Veach. This is what we're talking about. And by the way, how crazy is the NFL for allowing Hollywood Brown to sign to Kansas City, for allowing Xavier Worthy to fall all the way down to the Chiefs? And by the way, thanks to Buffalo for that trade. And by the way, I don't know what the hell Buffalo's doing, waiving Frank Gore Jr. Like, why is that? Okay, I don't know. I don't know how that team operates, but they're doing what they're doing, I guess. Michael says, love the 53. Agree with all, but keeping Sky Moore over Nico Remigio. Yeah, that's the one that surprised a lot of people. Nico Remigio probably was the biggest surprise to me, followed by Lucas Niang. But I actually kind of see why they decided to let Lucas Niang go, because I think he can be a good right tackle in the NFL. But as far as Nico Remigio goes, man, just the way Andy Reid, Matt Nagy, and Dave Toub were all talking about him, offense and special teams, and he did a good job on both offense and special teams. But they kept Sky Moore over him. Okay, all right. I don't know. By the way, speaking of wide receivers, let's touch on Kadarius Toney for a moment here. How is Kadarius Toney going to be remembered? Because when he came in the middle of the 2022 season in that trade from the Giants, he picked up that offense real quickly. And I always compared it to Josh Gordon's situation, where Josh Gordon was taking forever to pick up Kansas City's offense. He was in Kansas City's system for a year and a half and could not get things going at all. He just couldn't. Meanwhile, Kadarius Toney comes in mid-season, and he's making all kinds of plays. And obviously, the biggest one he made was in Super Bowl 57, when he had the longest punt return in NFL history, and then shortly after that, contributed on one of the corn dog touchdown plays there. And then what happened the next time we saw Kadarius Toney put on a helmet and pads in a football game? He dropped a couple of big passes, had the one go off his hands for a pick six, and then late in the game, still with a chance to win, drops a big one around midfield or even in Detroit territory that would have definitely put the Chiefs in field goal range to retake the lead. So, and I'll never forget just being there in the crowd for that game against Detroit. fans were all cursing and booing Kadarius Toney. It's like, this guy was the hero in the most recent game he played. And now people were shouting F you, Tony. So I don't know, man. I don't know how Kadarius Toney's going to be remembered. Like, the biggest punt return in Super Bowl history, that means something. And I still believe the Chiefs would have had a good drive without, like, let's say he fair caught it. I still think the Chiefs would have done something on that drive. It always helps when your punt returner comes through big. But man, you know, Kansas City's offense scored on every single play. They could have scored a touchdown on every play, but Jerick McKinnon took a knee on that play right there, right in front of the end zone. So the Chiefs, if I recall correctly, they scored a touchdown on every single offensive possession. And the Eagles only scored on one possession in the second half. Again, it's been a while, so I don't remember. I think they had a field goal and a touchdown, a touchdown with a 2-point conversion. So, yeah, I mean, like, Kadarius Toney, and let me say this too. Like, why are we here at this point where Kadarius Toney's gone? Well, he dropped passes. Oh, okay, but why did that happen? I kind of just wonder, did the Super Bowl get Kadarius Toney's head? I think it did. Like, how do you go from picking up the offense so fast and having a heroic moment in the Super Bowl and then just not knowing what the hell to do the following year? His yard per catch average was like 5 or 6 yards per catch. That is severely low for a wide receiver. Like, especially for his skill set. There's just no way that could have worked out. No way. And that's why we're at this point where the Chiefs let him go, and Kadarius Toney is currently a free agent looking to play for another team. We'll see what happens. Todd says that Pendershot will be a blocking tight end like Blake Bell. Yeah, that's kind of, I like Blake Bell, and they were able to use him in more versatile ways. I really liked him when he was in Oklahoma. I really did. So I'm really curious to see what Pendershot's going to, or Hendershot, excuse me. I said Pendershot. Peyton Hendershot. So I'm looking for it. We have a Hendershot and a Steele Hendershot. Okay, I like it. Jalen Watson is a mess right now. Our cornerbacks worry me with Williams hurting. Love the safeties though, but worried about Cook getting cooked all training camp. Listen, let me just say this, because I thought about this today. Chris Jones did not play a single preseason game. Nick Bolton did not play a single preseason game. Justin Reed did not play a single preseason game. Yeah, the Chiefs defense did not look great in the preseason. They didn't look great in last year's preseason either. And they had Chris Jones not play a single game last year for obvious reasons with the contract situation. This year, didn't play in any preseason games for different reasons, for cautionary reasons. They don't want to risk having him get hurt again. So, to me, I think the defensive concerns are valid, but just understand, the Chiefs were without 3 of their key guys on defense. I mean, the entire defense is full of key players, but some of them did not play in the preseason this year, and I think that is a reason why there might be some of those concerns right now. So just keep that in mind. I'm excited for Pacheco Steele, I-form, split backfield. Steele will also be a solid pass blocker. He won't shy away from the blocks. Lucas says, yeah, that's a good point, and I agree with all of that. A lot of people are really curious to see what he's going to do, if he can have that preseason success and carry that over to the regular season. Can't wait to see what Jared Wiley can do this year. Yeah, I think he's going to play. Like, he'll have some snaps this year. I don't think he's going to get a lot of pass catches, though. I don't think he's going to get targeted much this year. I would say give or take 20 passes. I think it's going to be is what he'll get this year as a rookie. But we'll see. I think he's going to be used a lot for pass protection. I really do. Him and Hendershot. Almost said Pendershot again. Hendershot. Hopefully Tony Taylor doesn't have 1,000 false starts. Hopefully not. Hopefully not. Travis says, I've been driving around all day, missing any cuts. What's the wide receiver room look like? It is Hollywood Brown, Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, Justin Watson, Sky Moore, Mecole Hardman, and Juju Smith-Schuster. Those are your 7 wide receivers. How about Thunder and Lightning now in that backfield? Oh, I thought you were talking about Thunder and Lightning in the actual background here. I don't know if you guys can even hear that. Like, if I turn this up a little bit, I don't even know if that makes a difference, but yeah. Hopefully you guys don't really hear a lot of it. But anyway, we go on. My electricity went out for like half a second. So hopefully, everything just stays the way it does. I would really appreciate that. Austin says CEH has no place on that team. I don't know. A lot of people are just very impatient with him. Like, again, I know last year was not a very good standard, but when the offense was struggling, Edwards-Helaire was one of the few guys that was able to step up and do something. Again, I know not the best comparison to make, but I think that's part of the reason why he's still sticking around. Yeah, I agree with you, Denny. I'm also surprised about Lucas Dean. I really liked him in 2021 when he was the right tackle for the Chiefs. I thought he was good until that injury. So, he never really got a second opportunity. I hope he gets an opportunity elsewhere because I do think he can be a good right tackle, a good starting right tackle, to be clear. So we'll see what he does. I hate seeing a wasted roster spot spent on Derek Nottie, Curtis says. So he was not on my initial 53-man roster because I thought he was going to start the season on reserve because he did not play in the preseason either. But it appears that, he's actually okay and will be ready for the week 1 game. Andy Reid did say that a lot of these players should be ready in time for the week 1 game. Nick says the Thunder is scaring me. Yeah. It's definitely not the ideal way to do a podcast, but I'm also crazy. I thought they might keep Justin Ross and let Sky Moore go. I truly thought it would have been Ross or Remigio over Sky Moore. Listen, I really wanted Kadarius Toney to get another shot, but no, they went ahead and dropped Kadarius Toney. Yeah, they dropped him. See what I did there? Terrible joke. Ross is dumb years and don't know where to line up. I guess. Look, who was it? Albert Breer of SI in his Monday morning column where he said that Ross was having a difficult time learning the offense and picking up the playbook. And it was the same day as his arrest came, which, obviously has nothing to do with the other, but he's had some issues. That's for sure. Appreciate you, Rochelle. Yeah, I appreciate those who are watching on YouTube. A wide majority of the viewers are from Facebook, and that's completely fine. I appreciate you guys. Would love to have more on YouTube as well. So definitely trying to help the podcast grow. I started the YouTube channel last year, but I'm utilizing more of it this year. Starting to put a lot more video content out there. So please, if you haven't done so, subscribe to the YouTube channel. It is right there. Underneath in the scrolling text here. I'll subscribe to the YouTube channel. There. I just commented with it so you guys can just click it. Yeah, Kadarius Toney gone. Nobody wanted him. I didn't mention this yet. The Chiefs actually tried trading him and could not find a trade partner. And I get it. Like, what are you going to give up for Toney? A 7th round pick? Like, is that guy worth a 7th round pick? Because with the amount of times he was a liability, and you guys know me, I do not like to put games on one player. When people blame Dee Ford for the AFC Championship loss, I thought that was unfair. You cannot blame one guy for one play. This is the thing, like when people complain about, the refs helping the Chiefs, and they have penalties late in games that help the Chiefs. Okay, but what about the first 58 minutes of a football game? The last 2 minutes, are always the big ones that people talk about, but the first 58 minutes are part of the game as well. To kind of go back to my point, I don't like to pinpoint a win or a loss on solely one player. But with KT, man, that Detroit game, that was really on him. The Buffalo game, the Chiefs, the guy going late, but that, like, the ironic part about it is him being a liability nullified his own touchdown there. Like, That's how rough it was. And then in the Patriots game, ball going off his hands, and you kind of saw Mahomes lose his patience on the sidelines there. So, yeah, I mean, it's just unfortunate that that KT had those highs of highs, and then the lows. Really, I think is what he's going to be remembered for. Unfortunately, Moore was probably the cause of the list to the Broncos last year, but his punt returns have steadied, and average 33 yards per carry. Yeah. Oh, you're talking about his kick returns in the preseason. Yeah, he had a good kick return average. Now, is 33 yards per return, is that good? I mean, that's great for your offense. But in terms of this kick return system that we're doing, is that a good thing? The Chiefs had the third highest kick return average in the NFL. So I don't know. Do I think Niang clears waivers and signs to the practice squad? No. I think someone's going to get him. I would be surprised if Niang, Justin Ross, I want to add Luis Rees-Zammit. I'd be surprised if they cleared waivers. I think the only reason anyone would want Luis Rees-Zammit is to, just say, why not? Let's get him. And also, you can kind of make some money with the jersey sales, because I think Europe is definitely going to follow him very closely and be willing to get his jersey wherever he goes, because obviously their number 9 jerseys don't mean much right now, because that's Juju's number now. Connor, a safety, he plays slot corner sometimes. Yeah, it probably will be a mix of that. So I think Shamari Kenner did some of that last year. So kind of going to be that hybrid cornerback safety guy. Hickson Steele is tough. Yeah. I'm looking forward to seeing those two. Your offensive and defensive best players from the preseason. Marks is actually glad we let Dion Bush go. That dude was giving up huge yards, and he had pass interference on top of it. Yeah. I kind of wish the Chiefs kept Mike Edwards. I know he allowed a big play in that Eagles Monday Night Football game in the second half, but man, he had a really good season, not allowing a lot of big plays. The Chiefs in general did not allow a big play. Like, look at that Buffalo game. To me, I thought the Buffalo game was by far the one in the playoffs, of course, in Buffalo. I thought that was Kansas City's best game. Offensively, McCole Hardman fumbling, he should have had more points, but Buffalo did not have a big play in that game. Buffalo, their biggest play was 18 yards that entire game. The Chiefs, meanwhile, had 6 plays for negative yardage. 4 of them were QB kneels. So, that was a very big defining game. MVS stepped up in that game. Travis Kelce had a monster game, 2 touchdowns. Pacheco played well also. There were some good moments in that game. And I thought that was Kansas City's best game of the season. Tony says we may need a little bit of help at corner. Yeah, we'll see. Look, I think as long as you have a strong pass rush, and that is going to be very important. I think that's another reason why they got Cam Thomas. You'll be good. What in the hell just happened to the screen here? Oh, I zoomed in. You guys did not see it, but my screen, the chat just went away and the video box got bigger. So yeah, that was weird. Rochelle says, I hope Matt Araiza keeps 49. I got his autograph a couple of weeks ago, and Matt Bushman had that number last year. I don't think Matt Bushman was even on the team this year. No. Araiza, don't quote me on this, but I think he's going to keep it. You might see a couple numbers shift around. I just prepare for that. We've seen this in the past a few times. But you might see a few numbers. Rees-Zammit stinks in the NFL. Yeah, but he's making that transition. I think he can do something in the NFL, but he definitely needs time. And maybe the Chiefs were saying, look, we love you. We think you're very talented as an athlete, but we can't afford to have you on the 53. Might be willing to have you on the practice squad, which, again, he could still get claimed by any team. I agree. I agree. Yeah, we're definitely going to miss Snead Doreen. I agree with that. And by the way, he did a podcast the other day. Sorry, I was just reading something. Text I got. Snead did a podcast talking about getting traded by the Chiefs, saying how he was upset and bitter, and that he wanted to stay. So many players say Tyreek Hill said this as well. Now, Snead was not bad mouthing the Chiefs or anything like that, whereas Tyreek has kind of had interesting choice of words for the Chiefs. But when you look at Snead, the unfortunate part is you can't keep everyone. You saw it with Tyreek Hill. You saw it with Snead this year. And they're prioritizing who to keep. They're prioritizing keeping an all-pro, very rare interior defensive lineman in Chris Jones. They're choosing to prioritize Creed Humphrey because he protects the franchise quarterback. Again, that's not to say Snead is not good and does not bring value to any team. He absolutely does. That dude can play for all 32 NFL teams. That goes without saying. But you can't keep everyone. I've said this for a while. I said this last year when the Chris Jones contract negotiations were going on. I kind of wondered because the three guys that I thought were key last year before the Chris Jones agreement happened, Chris Jones, Creed Humphrey, and Trey Smith. Those are three very important players to keep. And can you keep all three of them, especially with the guard market going up? That might be a big reason why the Chiefs went and got two interior offensive linemen in day 3 of the draft. They might replace Trey Smith, who was a day 3 draft pick, with another day 3 draft pick. That's entirely possible. I hope this is not Smith's last year, but you kind of have to be ready for it. I know the Chiefs are trying to lock him up before the week 1 opener. We'll see if they can do that in time. That way it doesn't happen during the season or have it out of the way before the season. Yeah, McKinnon, a lot of people just feel like, he still has something left in the tank, because it's not like he's been utilized much in his career too for a running back at his age in his 30s. He can still play. I hope he comes back. Absolutely would love to see him come back. Juju make KT go. Ross is already gone. Yeah, perhaps. Juju will be the open guy to throw to, Jacob says. Yeah, I mean, again, and here's a crazy thing. You can't double team everybody. You can't double team Kelce and Worthy and Rice and Hollywood when he comes. You just can't. This is a big thing. Like when Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce were on the team, sometimes Tyreek Hill would attract a lot of attention. Sometimes Travis Kelce would attract a lot of attention from defensive players. Sometimes they would both get a lot of attention, and that's where Mahomes would utilize guys like Byron Pringle and Sammy Watkins and Demarcus Robinson. So you're going to see some of that. I think you're going to get a lot of the 2018 offense this year. Again, that was the offense that had the 3rd highest scoring output in NFL history. If your defense can have a good pass rush and the defensive backs can hold their own, and the offense does have that 2018 type of season, good luck. Good luck stopping this team. Yeah, I'm not a fantasy football guy, but I kind of get the premise of fantasy. Like, I've played it before. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know if I would want a Chiefs player on my fantasy football team because, Kelce, not that he's bad, but he's not going to have big numbers every single game because it's going to be pass catching by committee. That's what that offense is going to be. Xavier Worthy will have a 100-yard game one day. Then it's going to be Rice. Then it's going to be Kelce. Sometimes you'll have 2 guys at once. Sometimes Hollywood. Maybe Juju has a couple of those. Like, you're going to have a lot of guys who are going to get very involved on offense this year. You'll see it. They definitely have a top 5 offense this year. Yeah, I think so, Jacob. I do agree. I think the defense will be top 5, give or take. And again, if that's what you have with Patrick Mahomes, as your quarterback, you'll be in good hands. you'll be in very good hands. Nick said that Cornell Powell didn't make it. Yeah, and I don't know, like, what else could Cornell Powell have done? And this is a guy that stuck around for a long, long time. I think his first active game in the NFL was last year, and this is a 2021 draft pick. So I don't know. I'm not sure what the future is for Cornell Powell. I'd like to think he's coming back to the practice squad along with me. Maybe Justin Ross. Those are three interesting names: Powell, Ross, and Remy. I don't think Ross is gonna clear waivers. I don't. Travis says arguably the best wide receiver depth Patrick has had his entire career. Even when Tyreek Hill, there wasn't much behind him. There was a lot of speed at the time with Sammy Watkins, McCole Hardman, Byron Pringle. McCole Hardman had a couple of big games his rookie year in 2019. Demarcus Robinson was a solid guy, but I don't like the speed. I do agree though, Travis. The speed now is better than the one in 2018 and 2019. I can agree with that. I can certainly agree with that. I'm just laughing because I see some people were doing live streaming right at the deadline at 3:00, and people waited for hours for this list to come out. Meanwhile, I waited for. I was planning to go live at 3, but I don't know why it took so long, but it did. The fullback will add a new twist to their offense. I think so, for sure. Steele is a fullback / running back combo. You can use him in multiple ways. Yeah, that's why I compared him to Kimball Anders, because that's just what he does. He's kind of like a Swiss Army knife at that fullback position. And again, this is a guy who also was involved on special teams too. By the way, speaking of special teams, because we didn't spend a whole lot of time talking about special teams, who is going to be your return guy? Because Nico Remigio was highly touted as being one of your return guys, not on the team. Another guy that you were experimenting with was Luis Ruiz-Zamet. Sky Moore was also in there, but I don't know if I want Sky Moore as my returner. I kind of wonder if Xavier Worthy's the guy. Xavier Worthy and McCole Hardman. You have to go with those two, don't you? I just don't know who else you would put that's better than those two right now. Juju was running to keep Kelsey fresh, insurance for Rice. Also, yeah. And again, too, I like Juju and what he has to bring to the table. And I don't think Rice is getting suspended this year. All you're doing, to your comment though about keeping Kelsey fresh, all you're doing is lifting the load off Kelsey's shoulders. Doesn't mean you're not going to target Kelsey 10 times a game. It might still happen 7 to 10 times a game. But you just make it easier for him to find ways to get open, because that entire defense has to respect the entire skill position group you have. You're going to see a lot of one-on-ones this year. And I don't think opposing defenses want to do that to this Chiefs defense, Chiefs offense. No way. Like, that is a big-time losing battle. That's why I mentioned yesterday, good luck to defensive coordinators that are trying to prepare for this Chiefs team, because the Chiefs are going to be throwing a lot of things at defenses this year. And I don't know how defenses are going to be ready for it. Yeah, more excitement from people about Pacheco and Steele, so that's good to see. I can see us using the lateral with fullback, running back a lot more this year. Oh, it's risky. Because even on that play where Travis lateraled it to Kadarius Toney, he was this close to having that tip. Like, that was it. That defender, and I can't remember who the defender was. He was really close to tipping that, and that would have been a massive disaster. Like, the offside call would not have even been a story at that point, but neither here nor there. Buffalo, always making dumb decisions. Yeah, I don't get it, but that's how they operate. Toney equals drops, penalties, unfortunately. Yeah, that's Tony says, when will they announce a practice squad? Should be within the next 24 to 48 hours. Should be very soon. Travis says, for me, I'll remember KT for the Lions game, but also the punt return against Philly. He's the most extreme ends of the spectrum. That's a really good point. I mean, that's really true. How else do you really dissect his time in Kansas City? Like, that's that's kind of a pretty accurate way. I guess, at the end of the day, we do, especially with the social media era of sports, it is a what have you done for me lately? So unfortunately, KT did not do much for you lately. Never forget the punt return. That changed the game for us. Yeah, I thought he was going in. I was just like losing my mind. I'm like, oh my God, he is going in. That would have been so sweet. He is 100% winning Super Bowl MVP if he goes in. And Marcus Kemp, that dude just that dude was throwing blocks on that play. Didn't Tony fight someone in camp this year? It wasn't really a fight. Karlaftis delivered a big hit and Tony threw the ball at his head. And then Kelsey kind of, didn't do anything terrible, but he got involved. This guy isn't going anywhere. They love him for some reason. Yeah, I think, they see something in him where they feel like he's going to deliver. Okay, maybe not deliver, but still come through for you on your offense and contribute. Hope you extend Trey Smith soon. Yeah, me too. Me too, Deb. Still surprised that they kept the IPP designation on Chuck Godric, yet he hasn't shown any progress. They should transfer that designation to LRZ. It's possible that may be happening as we speak, and maybe we just haven't heard that yet. I certainly would hope so, because I do agree. I'm not really seeing much from Chuck Godric. How Sky Moore wasn't cut is beyond me. I don't see Omenihu on there. Omenihu is on injured reserve, Chris. So that's why we've kind of gone over the Sky Moore thing. So I'll leave it at that. Oh, did not he play last game? Okay, maybe I missed it. Maybe I missed it. Why do I think Cornell Powell never got a shot? I just think there are too many receivers right now to account for. And, he's been patient. Now, is he okay with sticking around and making, league minimum, being part of this offense as a practice squad player? I don't know. It's up to him. What if you do get let go and you want to try to actually play elsewhere? Can you maintain a spot on another team somewhere? I don't know. I'm not sure. That's probably a discussion for another time. Again, like I said this earlier, I don't know what much more he could have done this preseason. Because ever since Cornell Powell's been here, regular season or preseason, first of all, I don't think he's played a regular season snap. He's been active for a couple games, and those all came this year. But regular or preseason, that was the most action we saw from Cornell Powell. So I don't know, like when he'll get his opportunity. Bear with me 1 second. A lot of you guys are saying something about Robert Woods. I'm talking to you guys, so I'm not really up to speed if there is any updates. Because a couple of you guys said Robert Woods. Let me do a little search here, see if there's a rumor out there. Steelers reportedly interested in Texans Robert Woods if he's released. He's on the Texans 53-man roster, according to Dylan Delgado, who covers the Texans. Otherwise, I don't know. Dude, the Royals have looked really, really good. I heard on A10 that, like, in the last month or month and a half, the Royals have played really good. They're like 39-21. And the Guardians, I almost said the Browns, have a record below 500. So the Royals have made significant progress and have really cut the deficit in this division, because the Royals had a weird month of May where they fell behind. They were still like in the wild card hunt, but it looked like the division was out of reach. But now they've made some ground in the division race. Right now, I just saw the Royals are winning 2-1 in a rain delay. If I'm not mistaken, they're tied for first place if they win. They won the doubleheader yesterday. I mean, the second game was awesome. Salvi grand slam and a solo shot, 6 RBIs. Like, the Royals they're looking good. They're looking as good as anyone else. I hope Buffalo picks up Tony. That would be amazing. Archeron says, surprised the Chiefs still. Oh, I think I read that. Archeron, are you the same guy on YouTube commenting? Okay. I just got to that now. Whoa, this is a good question from Jared. What happened to Kamal Hadden? I thought the Chiefs had high hopes for him. I think the Chiefs just have. See, I was surprised when the Chiefs got a quarterback in the draft. I think the Chiefs just maybe realized they don't have room for him. I would think he's a practice squad player. I do. I think he's a practice squad player. But look, the Chiefs just don't keep draft picks just to keep a draft pick. They had a fullback in John Dorsey's first year. I can't remember who it was. But they cut him shortly after that. They don't keep him around just because he's a draft pick. In fact, the last quarterback taken before Patrick Mahomes was Kevin Hogan. He got cut after the preseason. By the way, who was that fullback? Oh, Braden Wilson. That's who it was. From K-State, was it? Yeah, from K-State. Yeah, I remember him. I'm just looking at others. Phillip Gaines, my God. Yeah, Kevin Hogan, they cut after the preseason. And then that same year, they drafted Kavari Russell in the third round, which, some third rounders can contribute and become starters. And they cut him 2 or 3 weeks into the season. And there was even a story about like the progress he was making. Now, I think the Chiefs knew what they were doing because he has turned into a journeyman in the NFL. So the Chiefs know what they're doing. They got to let Rudy play. I know. LRZ was the 2024 Rudy, man. He was. Agree on Mike Edwards. Yeah, I liked him. I was bummed to see him go to Buffalo, but he'll be good for their defense. Hopefully they have a pass rush. I'll read a few more and get out of here. Hunter Renfrow is still a free agent. Sign him. I would not mind him over Sky Moore. That's for damn sure. I'm glad they decided to pick up another defensive end and place Charles O on the pup list. Yeah, that's a good move. Like, the more I just see his highlights and think about it. And again, Cardinals fans are not happy because that was. Oh, by the way, I failed to mention this. He had 3 sacks this preseason. 1 on the Broncos, which is always a good thing. So, he was their most productive pass rusher this preseason. And I know the Cardinals are not very good on edge rushers right now. So the fact that they even got rid of him is kind of interesting. And if you're wondering, why did the Chiefs give up a 7th round pick? Because on the waiver wire, I assume the Chiefs are very low on that list. So the Chiefs would not have had a good opportunity. I think the Chiefs found out he was going to get cut. So they went and got him. And by avoiding the waiver wire and having to risk waiting a long time and for him to possibly go to someone else, you give up a 7th round pick as well. The Chiefs are out there trading away 7th round picks. And I know one of them is a conditional 7th, but they're going out there trading away 7th round picks to get players that they think can contribute and help them three-peat. Like this, Brett Veach has been very, very active. I don't think I recall the Chiefs ever going and getting 3 guys right before the roster cut deadline. They signed Juju, been wanting him for a long time since he got cut by the Patriots, and they go and trade for Cam Thomas and Peyton Hendershot. What was his name? Peyton Hendershot. I almost said Hendergast. Clancy Pendergast. That was a defensive coordinator here in Kansas City for 1 year. Peyton Hendershot. I'll get that one of these days. Yeah, I mean it is just business. That's just the way things work. Joshua says we got a new tight end. That signals to me we will have more 12, 13 personnel packages. Yes. So for those who don't know what that means, the second number, the higher that is, the more that you're expected to see a tight end on the field. So yeah, that 13 personnel package might be, and the Chiefs were above average when they used more 13 personnel packages. So I'm curious to see how much of that they use this season, especially in week 1 against a good physical Baltimore defense. I'm curious to see what that is going to look like. But the Chiefs ultimately, I'm really excited to see what that unit is going to look like. That should be good. you're going to see a lot more of the 11 personnel, more than anything else. Meaning, one running back, one receiver, and three tight ends. Or I'm sorry, three receivers. One running back, one tight end, three receivers. That's an 11 personnel. You're going to see a lot of that. So you're going to see a lot of situations where the Chiefs line up with Pacheco and Kelsey, and then you'll have a combination of Rice, Worthy, Hollywood, Hardman, Juju, and Watson. I think you're going to see a lot of that this year. And I think that kind of goes without saying, too. Blake says these guys want to be the highest paid at their positions. At the end of the day, it's business, and we have to pick and choose who we pay up for. Yep, been saying that a very long time. Who would you keep, Snead or Creed? As much as I love L'Jarius Sneed, and I know he was clutch at that AFC tail, like that might be the most clutch play in Chiefs history. Like Dante Hall had some really clutch moments with game-winning kick return or punt return touchdowns. And obviously Mahomes has been clutch as well. But that was like the game-saving play. But you got to prioritize protecting the franchise quarterback. That's what this comes in. When you have Patrick Mahomes or Joe Burrow or Josh Allen or CJ Stroud, whoever, you have to prioritize protecting the quarterback. That I always think has to be priority number one. Because eventually Kelsey will go, but you'll still be fine. I think Mahomes will be just fine, as long as they get solid guys for him to throw to. And I think over time, the defense will be well. Because here's the thing. Brett Veach has always done a really good job of drafting players. So I trust that he'll continue to do, he'll get the right guys to draft whoever that gets replaced over time. And the Chiefs have a lot of young football players on this team too. So, this dynasty isn't going away anytime soon. I'll tell you what, there was a lot of really bad injuries this preseason throughout the NFL. Yeah, unfortunately, the Chiefs had one of them. Fabian says, sign Trey Smith, Bolton most likely going to be let go. Sad, but you got to protect your biggest investment. Yeah, we kind of went over it. And I said this already before. Tyreek Hill, L'Jarius Sneed, and I think Nick Bolton might join that list of guys that you wish you could keep, but you got to pick and choose. And here's the other thing, too, with Nick Bolton. Drew Tranquil just signed a very team-friendly 3-year deal. And on top of that, the Chiefs do run nickel and dime packages more than any other defense in the NFL. So I think it just kind of gives you maybe another reason to prioritize Trey Smith over Nick Bolton. Justin Herbert? Oh, yeah, I do remember that. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah. Yeah, and I completely forgot about the Justin Herbert part for the Chargers. Now, he's expected to be ready for week 1, if I recall correctly. This is the most speed Andy Reid has ever had. Yeah, I think it's like 2018. There was some good speed there, but this is better. This is better for sure. Rest in peace, Sid Vicious. Oh, Psycho Sid. Yeah, man. I wasn't really too familiar with his career, but I know he's a legend in the industry for sure. Worthy is going to get pulverized on kick returns and punt returns. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know what other options you really have there. How old is Sky? I want to say 23. Sky Moore age. Yeah, 23. He will turn 24 before week 2. So he'll be 24 very, very soon. Is Prince Tega Wanagwa still on the team? No, he's not. Okay, Woods was released. Okay, I was not. I thought I saw elsewhere that he made the team. Who surprised you that got cut today? Remigio and Lucas Niang. Those are my two guys. Those are the two guys that I was surprised with the most. Kelsey won't get enough snaps to have his best season. Really? I don't know. I mean, you need him. I don't know if I agree with that. He won't get enough snaps. Why wouldn't he? I mean, listen, the Chiefs are going to have a lot of different receivers they'll rotate with, but Kelsey's going to be your primary tight end. He'll come out for a few plays every game, but I mean, he's Travis Kelce. I appreciate it, Tyler. And I want to be clear. I'm not a reporter. I'm not a journalist. I'm not any of those things. Some people say I cover the team or I report on the team, and I don't agree with that. I talk about the team. I'm a podcaster. I'm a content creator. I love when people will like tweet me and they'll be like, "Oh, you're just a content creator." I'm like, "Yeah, I am." Was that supposed to be an insult? Because content creators, a lot of them actually get more attention than journalists, people who actually cover the team. Listen, I'm sure you guys listen to other Chiefs podcasters, content creators, and I'm sure you see their following. They have more followers than a lot of the journalists who are actually in the locker room for the Chiefs. So, but I appreciate the kind words, Tyler, right? And everyone else. Appreciate you guys. Let's see. Score prediction. We're going over that next. Hold on. Let me Wednesday is usually when we do our pregame podcasts. But obviously the Chiefs don't play on Thursday. So when do we need to do our pregame podcast? September the 5th is when we play. So I guess we got to do it September the 2nd. Okay. September the 2nd, that is when we will do our pregame podcast, because that should be when we get the last injury report. So yeah, September 2nd is going to be when we do. That's a no, wait, that's a Monday. Scratch that. I'm not doing a podcast on Labor Day. The 3rd. Yeah, that's a Tuesday. Okay. And the injury report should be in by then. So there you have it. Let's see. A few more. Blake says, you think we make a waiver claim tomorrow? Wonder if Veach will go after Terrence. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't had a chance to see all of the other cuts across the board. I'm sure they're going to be willing to do something. So we just kind of have to wait and see. I don't have an answer for you right now. McKinnon coming back? No, not yet. Might still being around. Yeah. I was just saying that Acheron. Oh, I said your name right. Yeah. That deal kind of, it's pretty telling for sure. Yeah, and I do agree. Niang did play well. Niang doesn't surprise me. Timothy says he opted out for COVID, then showed up massively overweight. Yeah, but he still played well in 2021, though. Like, he looked really good that year when he was a rookie, but he just hasn't been the same since that injury he sustained his rookie season. Is there someone out there from another team that is a great fit for KC you think they could claim? Yeah, I think I just answered another question similar to that. I'm not sure. I haven't had a chance to look at all of the other cuts so far, but I'm sure Brett Veach is always going to keep his eye out. So if that's something you're really curious, definitely keep a close eye, because I'm sure Veach is always looking out. There's a reason why he got Juju, got Hendershot, and got Thomas. 3 guys right before the deadline. No third string QB, no. Oladokin should be on the practice squad. If not, I'm sure the Chiefs are going to go and get someone. Maybe they bring back Shane Buechele if he's cut. Maybe they go get Ian Book to come back as the third QB. The Chiefs traditionally do have 2 on the main roster. Am I surprised Wallace beat out Haddon? I'm not surprised Haddon did not make the team, but I guess I was not expecting it to be Wallace. Let me just check his full name for sure. Where is it? Yeah, Chris Roland Wallace. Because no, I wasn't really expecting it to be him. Yeah, he's going to be used more for blocking, Timothy. That's I think what's going to be the big use for him. So you'll see more of that 13 personnel for the Chiefs. I mean, they use it more than the league average last year, so that'll be a thing for sure. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up here on this episode of the Chiefs Zone Podcast, going over the 53-man roster. Thank you guys for joining me for this episode. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate all the comments. Hey, if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. I will comment with it one more time here in the comments. Subscribe. I should probably spell subscribe correctly. I can never talk and write at the same time. So there it is. Appreciate all of you guys who have been subscribing to the YouTube channel. We're starting to put more video content out there, so hopefully that continues to get more and more attention out there. Would greatly appreciate if you guys could share the links. If you haven't done so already, like this video on Facebook and YouTube, wherever you're watching from. Share the links, share the videos, share the podcast links. It definitely helps out to grow the podcast, and we've definitely been growing a lot in the last month. With the season starting up, and that's all a big thanks to you guys. So huge thanks to you guys. We've had 10,000 followers, new followers this offseason. We had 10,000 last year in the offseason, 10,000 this year in the offseason, and obviously we're getting very close to 100K. So thank you guys so much. You guys are absolutely awesome and helping make that happen. So I'm sure we'll do another podcast this week. Not exactly sure when, so be on the lookout for that. Otherwise, I will talk to you all later. Appreciate you guys joining me. I'm Farzine. Take care.